Hey, boys and girls, the YouTube world. The Facebook marketplace strikes again. This, I don't know what it is, 98 GMC extended cab, two-wheel drive, was on the Facebooks with a price number of 1234, my favorite. But anyway, it was in Jimmytown, Jamestown, North Dakota, about an hour and a half from here, 100 miles-ish. And I messaged the guy because I need tan roll-up window door panels for that 90 OBS. And sure enough, it has them. No, gray. I need gray. And then I said, so what's your price? And he goes, 600 bucks. Blown motor. But he had a title. And I got to looking at it and the thing's absolutely rust-free. And so I get there, and I previously negotiated, so I said, how about 450? He says, 500. I said, absolutely. On the way with trailer and cash. Picked it up the next day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He said he would be there at 2. And anyway, I'm a good buyer. He's a good seller. Everything worked out great. Super nice guy. He goes, are you Mortske Repair? I said, yes. He says, I've seen your videos. And he said he picked this thing up. He was a mechanic and it had a bad transmission. So he put a transmission. His daughter drove for a couple years and then it started spewing oil. So they shut it off. I said, so it runs and drives? He says, oh, we could charge the battery up. And I had a battery with. So we threw it in, drove it on the trailer. So let's put the thing on the lift, see what the oil leak is. He says rear main seal. I'm thinking that it's just the oil cooler line, super common on GMs. But let's look at this thing quick. Like I said, GMC, it's pewter, tan interior. It's got the base-ish interior. You said there's some issues with the wipers, but there's some parts, spare parts in there. Look at this. The cover is still there for this. These are always gone. Looks like she's been off the road for 2 years, 11 to 22. Got the full-size receiver hitch. I mean, I think there's one little ding right here and a couple of scratches. Other than that, for being a 26-year-old pickup, this thing is good. Oh, critter racing. It's got the steelies and the beauty rings, which I don't hate, but yeah, we can't kill this thing for the door panels. Sucks that they put a winter guard on here. That's for those of you that are not in the north. It's like a leather cover that helps your heaters work. She's a northern vehicle. You can tell because it's a hybrid. It's got the bug deflector. Yeah, you see something's going on with the wipers. I don't know if it's the transmission or the motor or what's going on, but one's up, one's not, one's missing, one's not. Needs a good cleaning from sitting under his trees. But yeah, drove it on the trailer after throwing my battery in it. And it sounded all right. So let's see if we can't get this thing fired up, driven off the trailer, and get her on the lift, see what the oil leak is. Hopefully there's oil in it yet. It's a 4.3, it'll love it. Interior's a little grimy, but there's the gray door panels I need with the manual windows. It's got tilt, cruise, automatic. Hey, there's the booster pack I've been looking for. It's been on the trailer for pretty near a week. It's got the cheap seat, 60-40 split, and it's wasted anyway. Vinyl floor mat, nothing wrong with that, but kind of strange. Usually the GMCs were higher up. This is the first spot they go right here, and then they go right here. And this thing is great. They're great. Looks like 156,000. Pretty low miles for a 98. She's got the cheap radio. She's got AC. Oh yeah, good cleaning. Put some seats in it. Should be good to go. Here goes nothing. What's love got to do? Got to do? Come on, baby. Oh yeah. Let's do this. Check gauges. Oh, no oil pressure. Weird. It's a 4.3. It'll be fine. All right, we better put some oil. Ah, oil pressure's coming up. We're good. No power mirrors either. Power steering though, and that works good. Whoop. All right, I'm gonna have Duff open the overhead door. Let's put this thing on the lift. Ooh, it's got a terrible tint job. It's starting to sound a little growly. Maybe it was run a little low on oil. Maybe we'll be looking for a Vortec 4.3. out enjoying one of our last 50-degree days, so gotta open my own hood. Looks like old I Am Groot is our battery sponsor this week. Everything's super clean, original underneath here. Got the 4.3 super deep fan shroud. Emissions are all there, ABS, all that good stuff. Unmolested, just the way we like them. Got a couple cracks in the windshield. The VIN matches, so it's, I'm not going to say it's not stolen, but the title wasn't his name. Oh, hey. New brake shoes? Ratchet straps? They're even kind of good ones. He did say he was a roundy-round car guy, so spare power glide case. Some indoor-outdoor carpet. Yeah, he said spare wiper parts were in here. Looks like a whole bunch of junk. A couple of spare tires. At least they'd been adding oil, or it appears so. Got ourselves a race car steering shaft and joint and knuckles and all that good stuff. All right, just a bunch of laugh. When one door closes, another door opens. All right, let's run this thing up in the air. See what we can see for a leak on the bottom side. It did have oil pressure and it was full of oil, but she's a little growly. All right, let's take a look at this thing. Looks like a license plate bracket's bunged up, but the old chin spoiler, solid shape. ABS wires ain't ripped off yet. With 150 rounds, this thing should be pretty solid underneath. She's been maintained a lot. Looks like the power steering box is leaking a bit. Looks like the old 4.3's weeping a bunch of oil out front. I'm guessing this thing come from out west or somewhere where they got the red dirt. We don't got that here. But maybe that's just rusty water. Who knows? So, that's what I was hoping was leaking. And it is a little oily up there. But it's just flat out oily everywhere down here. Wowza, I didn't know these had an aluminum oil pan. That's news to me. But yeah, she's all over the old 4L60 as well. Still got the cat on it. The giant muffler. Looks like the pinion seal's maybe weeping a little. The rear end's a little oily. Fuel tank ain't all bunged up. Getting a little rusty on the rear end U-bolts like they all do. Kind of a bad design by GM. Dirt just sits in there, rusts them out. Freaking exhaust is good all the way back to the tailpipe. Looks like somebody pinched her off a bit. But yeah, super solid. Oh, that's plastic. I was gonna say that's cracked out, but no big deal. But she's just plastic. It's not steel. Spares under there still, holding there. They put the right splice in there for trailer lights, even though half the wires are broke off. 2 of the 3, more than half. Got the GMC mud flaps with the additional brace. Just got the little tiny 10 bolt, which is almost what you expect to see on a 2-wheel drive base model like this thing. All right, now we get to figure out where that oil's coming from. Fun times. I think there's a little tiny inspection cover we can take off there and see. Oh, there's a bigger one right there. Oh yeah. Well, let's make sure she's full of oil and we'll run her for a bit, lift her up in the air, see what we can figure out. Maybe clean it up a bit first. Get those covers off. Well, the old saga continues. I checked the oil and I was gonna check the coolant. Well, I did check the coolant. Dumped in some Dex Cool. You can guess what happened next. Started running out on the floor. It's coming out of the radiator, but it's also coming out of the water pump. And that's what all this rusty water is. Coolant. So I'm guessing this guy was right that it needs a motor. I'm guessing not only did they run it out of oil, they also overheated it and ran it out of coolant as well. So yeah, a little bit more than an oil leak that I was told. Clearly coolant's spewing out everywhere. It's actually leaking from the back of the water pump where the cover goes on the back and you put the impeller in there to put it all together, not out the front like the bushing and bearing shot. So that's interesting. So maybe we'll run it without some coolant, see if we can find the oil leak, but we need a radiator and a water pump for sure, long term. Or maybe just an LS. And we need some floor dry. I think I found the growling noise. I've never seen a water pump this bad. I'm afraid to stand here. Oh my good Lord. I thought that was the engine rattling because it didn't have oil in it at one point. She's got almost 20 pounds oil pressure, so not a lot, but it's got oil pressure. Mojo, what's the worst water pump you ever seen? Oh, look at that. Woo. I thought the valve train was coming out of the engine.
No, it's a water pump.
Good grief. Well, that's an easy fix, I guess. Easier than putting an engine in it.
Yeah.
You're just gonna put some lithium grease in there and fix her up?
Yep.
There you go.
Ah,
Well, let's pull the belt off and see what happens. I bet it sounds a lot less angry with a serpentine belt on it. Good news is I think the 4.3 water pump's the same as a 350. So if we did buy one and put it on there and the engine's shot, we still got a water pumper out for a 350. Now let's give her a crank, see how she sounds. Took the fan belt off. Fixes it every time. Nice and quiet now. She don't clatter or nothing. Give her a couple of revs. Let's run her up in the air and see what we can find for an oil leak. Like a sewing machine. Got the covers off. You can see a nice fresh blue torque converter in there. I don't see any oil leaking out. Don't run her too long without any coolant in it, so we'll set her down and shut it off. Looky what Chin had. Brand new AC Delco. He's got a 97.8. I don't know if Harvey's a GMC, Chevy. Anyway, he had some overheating issues at one point, so bought a new water pump. Sitting on the shelf. Same on a 5.7 Vortec versus a 4.3, so let's put that on there. We gotta take the fan shroud off anyway, so we'll get that radiator out of there. Hopefully we either got one laying on the shelf or steal one out of a pickup. There's different options, widths, cores, thicknesses, all that good stuff. So that might be the hard part, but we absolutely need a water pump, and we got one. So let's rip this thing apart. Well, that's handy. Straight water coming out of the overflow. Well, at least they put something in it. Oh. I'm sure this thing sat in heated storage for the last 2 years. It was off the road. Definitely never froze. So I bought a fancy tool for taking these fan clutches off that hooks up to your impact, air hammer. In 2021, found it in my Amazon. I must have borrowed it out because I can't find it. We put all our specialty tools in one spot on a shelf, and I think I bought it for my Dodge Cummins, the 05. We put a water pump or something on it. Yeah. I'm blaming it on Pookie. Pookie seems like the type of guy that would borrow that and not brought it back. I was at his shop last night. What a disaster. Anyway, we're gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way with a wrench. So here goes nothing. All right, where can we put this thing in there to keep her from spinning? See, that was the whole point of the air impact, was you just kind of, bam, surprise it. I know I could put the belt back on and hold it, but I don't want to do that. I'm probably turning it the wrong way. No way it could be seized on there from, you know, the terrible life that it's led. Pour a little 4.3. If we could just get that bar to catch something. There we go. Well, as I say, there we go, but now it just... Did it slip? Oh yeah, we got her. I think it's like an 1 7/16 nut. Of course, my wrenches go from 1 3/8 to 1.5 inches. So you can guess which wrench I used. The wrong one. All right. Fender, look at that thing. Woo! She pulls some air. Robs all the 4.3 horsepower. Wow. It's so bad. So bad. Somebody's been in here before though, doubling down on the old hose clamps. Looks like we gotta take this hose off. Looks like another bypass hose here. We're gonna have to take the pulley off at some point anyway, so we'll take that right off. And then hopefully, I think it'll clear all the accessory brackets and come right out of there. But yeah, all this rust in here is from Dexcool and water and everything else over the years. Just fix the water pumps, kids. Well, she's out of there, and I've never really opened up a water pump. I mean, I'm sure I have, but can't remember. I want to see how bad this thing is. The fluid is running out the backside, so I don't know. Usually there's a weep hole on the top here. Right there, when your bearings or your seals go out, it'll weep out there, hence the name, weep hole. And when it starts weeping out there, your time is short, so get her fixed. Otherwise you end up like this, or worse. One other thing, this thing's got the old smooth serpentine pulley on it. Your old 74 Camaro 350's got the old V-belt. They turn different directions, so be careful of that. Don't just grab your Camaro water pump and put on here, vice versa. It's gonna turn the wrong way. And you're gonna have an overheating issue, which is probably not as bad as what was going on here, because at least you'd have coolant in it. Metric? I don't know. 10 takes them out though. Ooh, oh my! Wow! Oh wow! Wee-woo!
Wow,
yeah. I took all the blades right off the impeller. This thing must have a really good radio for his daughter to have not heard that. Cheese and rice. Good stuff. It's funny it didn't just like lock up and smoke the belt. New high score. All right, let's put a new one on. All right, let's get this block cleaned up. Get your Super Scraper SS5. Works great for this application at mortskerepair.com. All right, got our gaskets all greased up so that it comes off easy. And we got to give it back to Chin and tell him that there was no fix to the old 4.3 being nuclear overheated. Everybody's gonna scream that, oh, you didn't paint that water pump. Look at the rest of the engine, come on now. Ain't nobody got time for that. Plus it's hidden behind a fan and a shroud and everything else. The old formed hoses and fittings and everything here, real treat. All right. Now let's see if we can get some bolts started. Okay. Where's the hole at? Don't you know where the hole is? Don't you want to go to your home?
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
What the French toast? There we go. There we go. Always make sure the gasket stays lined up. That was the whole point of the grease. put it all back together and look for a radiator. Well, looky what we found. Good thing we never throw nothing away. I think this is out of that 90 Chevy regular cab. I think that was a 350 pickup. They make a bunch of different width radiators depending on engine, transmission, towing, air conditioning, all that stuff. But this thing looks like she's the same width. Only thing is, this little metal nut's missing on there for the tranny cooler lines. So we'll swap that out. And this engine doesn't have that deal, so we'll have to cap that off. And we'll probably wash it out a bit, huh, Duff? But other than that, same width, same height, same filler neck. We'll have to steal the radiator cap off of it. But she should work. 521 and 98, May 21st. I think that's my cousin Dan's birthday. May 21st. Oh, there's where she let loose. I'm guessing they got her real hot. That doesn't look like a get old and crack. Oh, I bet they had it full of water, and that's what happened. The water swelled up, cracked her there, and cracked her there. Otherwise, if it would have just got hot, it would have blown out in one spot. But the ice expands. The water expands when it becomes ice. Takes out your perfectly good radiator. All right, we'll clean that up and throw it in there. All right, let's help this radiator. Didn't have any holes in it when they took it out, or got any holes in it. But it was in storage for the last however many years in the back of that pickup. And we're gonna be known as the OBS guys here pretty quick. That's all right, because we like the OBSs. Alrighty. Looks like she's gonna fit. Let's start putting everything in place. Alrighty, we caught our first snag. The transmission cooler line thread diameter is significantly larger on these than on this transmission cooler line fitting. So that's not gonna work. We could loop them or murder them or put a loop in there. I'm gonna go do some digging, see if we can find a different radiator we can steal or something. Because we got to have a transmission cooler. Well, we don't, but probably should. Check back in a minute. I'll let you know what we figure out. I don't believe this, but I had the right adapter fittings to go from, what is this, like a 9/16 24 to 5/8 20 or whatever this is. Inverted flare on both sides, and I had 3 of them. Only needed 2, but remind me to order some new ones. Just kidding. This is totally going to be a temporary solution, and we'll definitely put the right radiator in, so we don't need these adapters or that plug. And also that threaded nut that holds the transmission cooler in is different threads on that radiator than this one. Go figure, right? So we couldn't use that. All right, I'm gonna put these on there, and hopefully everything else works and it doesn't leak around that transmission cooler fitting. Yeah, that'll be a miracle. But I think if we had to, we could really take that metal nut that I took off of that one, that stamped steel nut, and open her up a bit real slow and get her to work. Get her to the right diameter. Or steal one off of another pickup. Okay, enough rambling. All right, we're finding more things here. Let me show you this. This is the heater hose, and that's been pinched off. It almost looks like it's cut. Yeah, that's probably gonna leak on us, so I guess we're gonna have to fix that as well. Do they have that special end on it? Of course it does. Another terrible idea by GM, these stupid pewter connectors. Looks like somebody clamped the locking pliers on it. Who knows why? Oh yeah, there's a gaping hole at the bottom side of it. Wow, this thing is really screwed up. So I guess we'll have to fix that once we start putting coolant in it or loop it. Really, I think it's long enough we can just cut that section out, shorten it up, put a splice in there. It should be fine for now. And then when we go and put the right radiator in it, we'll fix that radiator hose. But I don't know why they would have crimped. I wonder if they crimped it off because they weren't getting heat. Probably because there's no coolant in it. I don't know. But the other thing is I ran it up in the air and I take 2 bolts out of the bottom of the fan shroud. So I lifted it up in the air and I saw the oil on the ground finally. And it was not coming from anywhere near the filter. It's coming from the top of the engine. Oil pressure sensor. So this thing was literally parked and screwed with over a water pump and an oil pressure sensor. Hopefully they didn't ruin the engine. And then obviously it was leaking coolant, so they were dumping straight water in it, and the water took out the radiator. So stupidity ruined the radiator. Stupidity ruined it all, but stupidity definitely ruined the radiator and that heater hose. So let's keep digging into it. Hopefully the old 4.3 still got a little life left in her. No doubt it does. That being said, I'm gonna run it up in the air and put those screws in the bottom of the fan shroud before we put the fan shroud back on. The top half of the fan shroud. These are nice that they're a 2-piece fan shroud. Good work, GM, going away from the 1-piece. I like the 2-piece. All right, check this out. So there's our coolant mess. Never mind that. Duff's not drinking it.
How dare you!
This is oil. That's a fair amount of oil. Apparently a sending unit holds that much oil. But you can see where it's nice and shiny on the bell housing and the transmission running from way up there. And judging by the copious amounts of engine oil we had to dump in, it's engine oil, not transmission fluid. And we'll rip her apart up top and see what we can find. It's a PS262 oil pressure switch. I don't have one. Sure enough, I have a temp sensor switch on hand, but I don't have a oil pressure switch or oil pressure sender. So we'll just throw a pipe plug in it, send it. We don't care if this thing's got oil pressure anyway. It probably doesn't anymore. Just plug it, fix the leak. Because yeah, that's just from sitting overnight. So you can about imagine what it would leak like when it's got pressure and running down the road. All right, this air box, I don't know if I can get that out of there that easy, but anyway, it'll give us some access to that heater hose. Hey, the air cleaner looks a lot better than I expected for the rest of the stuff, air filter. But if we get this out of the way, we should be able to fix that heater hose, and plus, we kind of need to get everything out of the way so that we can fix that oil pressure sensor or replace it or plug it or verify that that in fact is what's leaking. But that should be the only thing up top here that's got pressure to it. You know, valve cover gaskets, they usually run down the old exhaust manifolds, so that shouldn't be it. And like I said, that is a copious amount of oil. Ooh, these got the aluminum valve covers, so those definitely would not leak. Oh yeah, I can see the switch. I would show it to you, but I can barely see it. Straight back behind the distributor where they are on all the small blocks. So, what holds you in this magical thing? Get this air box out and that'll help us fix that heater hose. Come on, Meow.
All right, Meow.
Helps if you take all the bolts out. Still? Okay, got it. Look at that! New, December 1st. Nearly 9 years ago. Must have been a lot of highway miles. Definitely took the wrong bolt out there. Whoopsies. Oh yeah, all kinds of room for activities now.
So many aerobics in here. So many activities.
See, this one's just a regular hose and it's clamped on, but this one that's pinched off has a formed end on it. But I think we'll just cut that section out, splice it, and call it good for now. I do not condone splicing heater hoses, so don't do this at home, kids. But I've seen it done many times and fixed it, so I should have a splice somewhere that I've saved from somebody else's intelligence. Wow, that's pretty awesome right there. Look at this cute little splice. I'm pretty sure it's off of some like PCV system, something or other, but it now identifies as a coolant hose splice. A couple of hose clamps. We're gonna be good to go. Come on now. Get in there. I should have spit on it.
Spit on that thing.
Okay, let's tighten that up. Call it good. This is some real DD Speed Shop hackery right here. He definitely has to have heat on his stuff up there in Canuckistan when he's plowing snow with his 57 Chevys. For sure. What a guy. He won't let this arrest thing go down, you know. But I can't even go up and see him now that I'm a felon because I don't think I can get across the border. So that's pretty awesome. Guess he's gonna have to come here if he wants to go Canucks to fists. Got that thing capped off. Got our tranny cooler lines on there. I definitely didn't find that metal nut to tighten that up, so hopefully the coolant doesn't leak by there, but it probably is gonna. Oh well, such is life. Now I'm gonna start ripping into that mess back there because that oil leak is real bad. I wish I had one on hand because I don't want to put a fitting in there and plug it and have to rip it apart again, but we'll see. See what we can figure out. Ooh, we need the underhood creeper. All right, I don't do a lot of Vortec work. These things are kind of newfangled to me, but I think I gotta get this really obnoxious distributor cap. I was just pulling the wires off. I'm like, where's the fourth one? Yeah, that's how much V6 work we do around here. Ooh, torque screws holding the cap on. Good times. Can I even, oh, I can put my hand on it. Oh, this is miserable. I think the LS's are pretty common for, what do you want to call it? Going bad, not leaking, but reading bad on the clusters, and they are a cluster to replace. Maybe if I get a real stubby, like a 7/8 wrench, I can get down there and get that thing out. This is gonna be fun. Ooh. Oh, I bet those wrenches. I got some little stubby things that go on, I don't know, what do they call them? Crow's feet. I don't think they go that big. It's like a 7/8. This is gonna be real fun. Oh, it's like an odd shape. You need that fancy socket. Didn't I buy one of them sockets one time? Probably. Somebody probably sent me one or I bought one. Let's see if I can find said socket and get it on there. There might be room for a flex head ratchet. Maybe. Put the brakes on your underhood creeper so you don't die. There it is, the OEM 1"-1"-1/16. Part number 25254. Is it the right one? Probably not. And it's a 1/2-inch drive. Why? Why would I need a 1/2-inch drive to do what I'm about to do? Just kidding, it's not big enough anyway. Story of my life. Oh, wait, oh. Yes, maybe. Oh, it is. Now I'm gonna need an adapter to a 3/8 ratchet because I'm never gonna get a 1/2-inch drive down there. Ooh, this underhood creeper thing. I don't utilize it a lot. Mojo likes it. It's pretty freaking handy. Just doing the old Superman underneath the hood here. All right, it's in.
But it's in.
Good gravy, why is it so tight? Oh, don't snap off. That'd be a real pain to try to drill and tap back there. Then it would definitely be getting an LS. I do want to LS swap one of these, and this would be a great candidate because it's relatively unmolested except for the goon who screwed up the heater hose and put water in it. But I kind of want a regular cab short bed. They're kind of my go-to jam, the old RCSB. But this would be a pretty good candidate because it's got the smallest engine they offered, and the engine's about shot, and it's super, super clean. And like I said, relatively unmolested, so that makes it a great candidate to molest, right? Don't refer to Mortske as the molester. Yeah, we're not making stickers that say, I was molested by Mortske. But free Mortske decals are available at mortske.com. Go check them out. Thanks everybody who supported in that process. Okay, there it is. Here she is. You can see how oily it is. That thing was leaking. So we're just gonna put a 1/4-inch plug in there and see what happens. It's a 1-wire. Weird. Oh, alrighty then.
Alrighty then.
Come on, baby. Please start. There we go. Atta girl. We need like a Bluetooth ratchet where you can just like holler at it to switch directions instead of having to use 2 hands. Come on now. There we go. Oh, that's the spot. Nope, slipped out. I hate when that happens. We're not gonna get crazy and over tighten it. Nope. Come on, hand. Come out of there. Oh. All right, let's definitely not forget to hook the spark plug wires back up. Let's get our firing order correct. What is the firing order on the old 4.3 screamers? Is it 15, 36, 24, just like the inlines? I don't do a lot of V6 work, and that's all right. These old Vortex, I don't know. They're not my jam. Give me the old throttle body or the LS. It's just a bad era. All right, let's throw that air box back in there. I'm gonna throw some coolant in it. Yes, coolant, because it's, what did I see earlier? It was 45 degrees today, pretty warm, but last night it got into the 30s, so we're definitely gonna put Dex Cool in it. Not water. We live in the wrong climate for the water. Looks like I didn't need to take that screw out after all. Who'd have thunk? I'm sure you extreme GM owners knew that. Wait, what? I don't, oh, maybe not. I don't know. We're gonna find out right now. If you know what you're doing, it will snap back in place. Probably, but I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, there she goes. Maybe. Got it. The more you know. This clips over the front. I do believe the first Vortex made with real tornadoes.
Chevys come with a Vortex engine made out of real tornadoes.
Or the 4.3, which was prior to 1996 when they made the Vortex 5.7s. I think they made the Vortex 4.3s and the S dimes. Maybe you could get a Vortex 4.3 in like 93, 4.5 in a full size. Who knows? Who cares? All right, listen for leaks. Still got the pan down there on the ready. There's a leak. Oh, be a freeze plug. Where is that coming from? Oh, yay, definitely a freeze plug. Oh, the one behind the engine mount, too. Let's run her up in the air and take a look. We should make decals say, don't be an idiot, and put water in your cooling system. Oh, yeah. Right behind the engine mount. You can see all that nice, rusty Dex Cool running down where it looks like it ran down before previously. Son of a biscuit. Freeze plugs don't just fall out or rot out. I mean, they rot out, but not in 26 years, so I bet it's pushed out. And now we gotta lift up the engine and pull an engine mount out to get at it. The LS swap is looking even more lucrative. Well, Duff, are you ready for this miserable job? Replacing frost plugs is one of the most miserable jobs there is, especially when they're behind an engine mount in this case, or even worse, when they're behind the bell housing. I think we've done my 61 Ford unibody pickup and my 66 Ford Bronco, both 6-cylinder Fords, and they were rusted out behind the bell housing. And there's the reason we're pulling it out. Ford snuck that frost plug right in there. Yeah, see, that one's so frickin' rusty. Junk. And I feel like there was maybe some other ones too. But that basically means you gotta pull the engine. Nice part about that is, it's out in the open, easy to do, and you may as well do them all while you're at it. Here, we're just gonna try to take the engine mount bolt out, take the 3 bolts holding the mount off the frame, the 3 bolts holding the mount to the engine, try to get the old one out and the new one snuck in there without having to pull the engine. Because if I have to pull this engine, we might be looking for a different engine because we don't know if this one's that good. And by different engine, I might mean LS. Or I reached out to 7th Avenue Auto Salvage. They said they have one from a 99 S10. Got to change the flex plate and the injectors. It's got 190,000, so a couple more miles than this, and $300. But at least that one you get a warranty. So the good news is we got to take that engine mount bolt out to get the engine out anyway. So we'll be that much closer if we got to do it. And I hope we don't have to pull the other side and pull the fan shroud and lift the engine up, but we probably do. Let's rip into her and see. I can't really show you much because it's not going to be fun and it'll be a lot of cursing and we can't have that on this family channel. And I don't know how we're both going to fit in there. By both, I mean my hands and the camera. All right, it really wasn't that bad, but we got to put it back together. You can see all that rust buildup on the back side. That's from straight water. And you can see how it's concave versus convex. Hopefully we got one of those on the shelf. Here's our engine mount from the engine. It's got these cute little wings to guide it into place, but also those wings smash into the starter. We busted the plastic on the back side of the solenoid, so you gotta fix that. And also the engine mount that bolts to the frame, this guy right here, you can't get at the nut on the back side of those unless you disassemble the lower control arms, near as I can tell. Unless you got some magic tool that I'm not aware of. Cobweb. So I just cut the heads off the bolts, and we'll just put 3/8 bolts back in there and hopefully fish a whiz nut up there and get it to hold. Otherwise, we're just gonna get the welder and put it in place. Or these mounts are different between V6 and V8, and we just put V8 mounts and a V8 in this thing. Anyway, soft plug out. You can see where it had pushed up against this engine mount. Don't put water in your engine in the Midwest, or this is what happens. Or worse, cracks the block. So, I'm gonna find one of these and we'll get her knocked in there. We'll clean up that hole and we'll goo it up and we'll use the special concoction you're supposed to, or whatever method you prefer. Just imagine in your mind that's how we're putting it in. Okay. This is gonna fix it. And then we gotta fix the starter. And then we gotta find a way to hold the engine back in place. Dagnabbit. Nothing's easy. All because somebody put water in an engine and it froze. All because somebody didn't fix a water pump. Silliness. $44 on Rock Auto. New water pump. Delco even. Okay, maybe it wasn't Delco, but 44 bucks for a water pump. And probably one of the easiest late model water pumps you'll ever replace. All right, we got that thing in there. I got this fancy tool that's adjustable and angled and got different ends on it for putting soft plugs in the vehicle. That got it in most of the way. Then we had to get creative with a 2x4 and a bar and a socket. Inch and 5/8, Dorman part number 555030. Same as a small block Chevy. But she's in there. It's in a little bit further than the one on the left. Accidentally got a little wild with the bar, but we'll see what happens. Made in China, thanks Dorman, so whatever. So now I can bolt that mountain back on the engine. We can put the one on the frame and the bolts in it. Bolt everything back together. And then go look for a solenoid. Great. How does a coolant leak turn into a starter repair job? Only around here. That's where. It's better than being in jail though. Get your free Mortske merch at mortske.com. Appreciate everybody who's laughed at this with me and sent messages and helped out. Cheers. Still coffee time today. All right, back to work. Well, all the bolts are back in the mount and this thing saved the day. The old mechanical finger. I think they got these things on Amazon and eBay. Probably your local hardware store, everywhere else. Anyway, I put a nut on the end of this thing, fished her up into the frame. Whiz nut, of course. You guys know what a whiz nut is, a serrated flange nut. Once you get this thing started and get it up tight, it'll basically hold itself in place. So mechanical finger saves the day. All the bolts are in. That one was a real treat because I had to go all the way through the frame, like at an angle over there. So I had to fish a zip tie through, clamp the mechanical finger on a zip tie, fish it through, hook the bolt on over there, pull it through. Not fun. I can't show you the ones up there, but I put a nut on them, fished them up through there and up through that spring pocket. Started the bolt up top. Those were pretty easy. So now we can hook, what is this, ABS? Probably. Back up and put a starter solenoid on. We're getting there. We're getting there. The other side's blown out. I'll be real unhappy, but I'm gonna be real good at replacing these frost plugs on 4.3s behind the engine mounts before this is done. And you can too if you pay attention and get yourselves a torch and a mechanical finger and some type of jacking mechanism. This would be a terrible, terrible, terrible job on your back, but I'm sure people have done it. And they're gonna comment down below. Well, Tiffany says, you know, Mortske, you should probably see if you fixed all the leaks before you mess around with the starter, because starter don't do no good if you can't keep coolant in it. So, let's put some coolant in it and listen for leaks. Is that a leak? Dang it, that's a leak! Looks like it's coming out of the radiator. Oh yeah, it's coming where we gotta put that nut on here. Okay, I'm gonna go see if I can find one of them fancy stamped tin nuts. All right, let's see if she leaks. I took and reamed the old one out, hence why I don't have any glasses on. I put my safety glasses on, took our die grinder, augured that stamped nut out, made it the right diameter. Because like I said, this radiator is temporary. So we'll definitely get the right one. I did look on Rock Auto. They had one on clearance for like 66 bucks. And they start at 100 and go up to, I don't know, 200 and a half. Looked like there's a lot of them between 100 and 140 bucks. I don't hear nothing running out though, so that's a good sign. I think it was my video where I brought the old jailbird whistle pig back from Oklahoma, but I talked about how they got marks on the side, but you can't see. So everyone says, well, you gotta stick a flashlight in there. Well, what do you do if you don't have a flashlight? Better yet, the Prestone Dex Cool, they don't even have marks on there. And if you shine the flashlight in, you can't see. So, yeah, Prestone. How are you supposed to know how to mix it? You're supposed to dump it into something that's marked and mix it 50-50. Come on, step up your game. All right, I don't hear any leaks. I'm gonna put the transmission cooler line back on. We'll go digging about for starter solenoids. I found one that's the right size, but the stud is 3/8 instead of 5/16, and it won't fit over the battery cable, so I can ream up the battery cable, but I don't want to do that because then if somebody ever puts the right solenoid on, so we're gonna do a little digging for that yet. If we got to ream it out, we'll ream it out. All right, dug in the old stash. This thing probably would have bolted right on, but we knew that one was good when we started, so we just swapped the old solenoid on there. So she's ready to go back on. Looks like it's holding coolant. I'm gonna top it off a little bit more and lift her up in the air. Throw a starter on. Oh, if only we had kept track of how many starters we've removed, repaired, replaced, hit with hammers in the 4 years we've been doing this. God, we're coming up on 5. We should have a party or a giveaway. Maybe by then we'll get the title from whoever's got the title for the whistle pig, and we'll give that away. Better have a title by then. Again, thanks to everybody who's emailed Haggerty and Copart. And Haggerty or Copart hasn't mailed me a title yet, so good stuff. I spoke too soon. I had so much floor dry on the ground you couldn't hear the drips. Weird. The heater cord's leaking. Who would have thought? So I'm guessing that froze and busted like the radiator, and that's probably why they put that clamp on there and ruined the hose. Good news is we got a splice already in there, so we just cut the other hose and loop them and don't have a heater for a while. Bad news is we still got a coolant leak. Hopefully this is the last one. Maybe. Dang it, we're gonna need a Dexcool sponsor. This thing never quits leaking. I was just under here doing a little oil cooler delete. And I was like, what's that drip from? It's coming down from up top on the intake somewhere. So it's not the water pump. Let's set her down. Thermostat housing, top radiator hose? I don't know. There's only so many spots it can leak. What's going on up here? Where is it coming from? Looks dry around the thermostat housing. Oh my word. It's above the water pump, below the intake. Stupid air conditioner's in the way. It's gotta be a head or an intake gasket, I guess, or a cracked intake maybe. Yeah, it looks like it's coming between the intake and the head. Just what I want to do is pull an intake off of a 4.3. This thing's sounding LS swap ready every time we mess with it. Well, that drip isn't that terrible, so we can at least put some miles on it, I think, and see if this engine's even worth putting that gasket in there or digging into it any further. It's pretty slow. It's not like the other ones. And that's part of the leak that made all the rust up front here, I suppose, along with the water pump being out. All right, let's finish our oil cooler delete and starter install. You ready to hear this thing fire up? Maybe go for an RIDE if it don't clatter too bad? Yeah, you loves the rides. All right, let's hit the switch, see what happens. Obviously, we're not gonna have an oil pressure gauge. Slingshot, engage.
Slingshot engaged.
Oh yeah, we got all kinds of oil pressure. She's like pegged over at 140. No lights on. Not even the low fuel light. Should be pretty quick though. This thing sounds nice and quiet. Can't complain. Smooth. If the running lights are working. Oh yeah. She's ready for the road. You know what we're gonna do before we put her on the road? I got some license plates. That's right, you know. You don't want to get arrested on the side of the road. So I'm gonna throw these bad boys on there, the old 883 E-Gaze. And 2 lucky people who place orders this week at mortske.com. You don't have to buy a shirt, a cap, you can buy stickers, whatever it is. Somebody is gonna get a signed license plate with a free Mortske decal on it. with their purchase. So thanks everybody who's supported us. Thanks everybody who's bought merch. A couple people on the dates listed below are gonna get themselves some 98 GMC license plates tabs that are expired by 2 years. And they're not in my name, so feel free to do with them as you wish. I would not recommend driving on the road. 671 like the superchargers on the Detroit engines. It's not even smoking white. We're getting a little condensation coming out of the pipe, which is to be expected considering it's been sitting for so long. Yeah, it's not pouring coolant out the front. It'd be really cool if that leak just fixed itself, but there's a drip once in a while. We got a little humidification back here. Oh, it's coming out of that ginormous muffler. Looks like somebody's been into the drive shaft. It does need a new U-joint. It's gonna be close to needing it anyway. And the hanger bearing, she's a little sloppy too, but good enough for the girls we go with. Let's get this thing on the ground, take her for a ripski. Well, everything was going good until it wasn't. Ran her over to the gas pump, filled her up. I was gonna top off the coolant. I opened the cap to that. That looks way more red than deck school to me, doesn't it to you? I think there was a reason that nut was off that transmission cooler fitting. I think the transmission cooler's got a leak and it pumps it into the coolant. Good news is the transmission should have more pressure than the coolant, so our cooling system is full of transmission fluid, but our transmission is not full of coolant. Also, when I dug through my stash, remember that 80 Camaro that was flooded? Yeah, well, it came with an extra radiator. You can tell, 80 Camaro, and it's literally the same exact radiator. It's capped off for the oil cooler. It's got that same neck over here. Yeah, so it should fit. And it looks like brand new. So, let's swap a radiator again. And look at that, an exact replica. Hopefully the transmission cooler in this one doesn't leak. But like I said, I don't think this one's ever been installed. So we'll swap our adapter fittings over in this plug and hopefully be on our way. I just got to thinking, with all that oil in there, we should probably just put straight water in it. Remember to drain it or not let it sit outside and freeze. And maybe put some Cascade or something in there to try to clean all that oil that's out of there. The good news is the heater core is unhooked, so that thing isn't full of that stuff. The bad news is the heater core leaks. And check this out, that heater core has leaked for quite some time. It's also leaking in the cab, and there's rusty water stains all over the interior, so. All right, let's get the bed on the old critter here emptied out. There's a bunch of crap, and maybe we'll find some good stuff. But anyway, it won't be weighing us down and blowing out everywhere if we get it out of here. Like this, what is this? A bed mat? Looks like it's got some spray paint over it. Looks like that's going in the burn pile. Oh, what is it? Access truck bed mat. Fancy. Serial number 3406. Marine grade snap-in bed mat. We don't need that where we're going. Sheet metal, recycle. Axle shaft, no doubt, for a race car. Cowl vent, better keep that. Wiper, arms, transmission, motor, another wiper transmission, and a wiper arm. What are these? Trailer wheels? Oh yeah. A couple of Busch Latte containers. We'll save a 4.5-inch bolt pattern wheel out of this. I feel like the tires not gonna do us any good though. Ooh, the old Natty Light Natter days. Been a while since we had some oil. This is your yearly reminder. Go clean out the bed of your pickup. This one even holds air. What a deal. And has tread. Looks like we're gonna have to get a broom and a shovel for the rest of it. She's wadded up in there pretty good, but getting those leaves out of there will keep the bed floor from rotting out. You don't want your bed rotting out from the inside. Oh yeah, that looks way better. Do some pressure washing. This thing will be pretty good. Paint's a little wore off. There's a couple dings. Something banged against that inner panel over there and the wheel wells, but she's pretty good. A couple little dings in the tailgate. Looks like it had a liner or a topper or something at one time. I did see in the back window it says Interstate Engineering, so I'm guessing this was a corporate vehicle. I think there was a sticker on the dash that says like number 146 or something, so fleet vehicle number 798. All right, I'm gonna go through the toolbox, get the crap out of there, and then this thing will be ready for a good cleaning. Well, since we just dug those wiper parts out of the bed and it's already in the shop, you can see the driver's wiper is way higher than the passenger wiper, and they both should be sitting horizontal, close to the cowl cover, vent, whatever you want to call it. So let's pop those arms off, hit the switch inside, see if it functions as it should, or what's going on there. So I'm pretty sure to remove these wiper arms, you just get your, oh. Well, that might be part of it. The old transmission has left the chat. Okay, so like I was saying, you push that little lever right there up, and then you pry this off the transmission. These things got one big keyway on them, so they can only go on one way. Let's go take the other side off, and I'm guessing we gotta take this cowl panel off because that shouldn't be like that. Well, I think this is our problem, the old transmission being busted. Let's suck all the dirt and debris out of there and see if we can't get it apart. I'll show you what happened and put a new one in. Let me show you what we found. Here's your wiper transmission. You can see all them tabs are busted. That's what they should look like. So 3 bolts holding that in, 2 bolts clamp it to the end of the arm coming off the motor. Tighten that up, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Hardest part is fishing it in and out of there. So, all right, hopefully throw this on there and we'll have functional wipers again. Because somebody said it's illegal to drive in the rain without wipers. And I said, what about motorcycles? And they said, well, now you're just being nitpicky. Okay. Literally the hardest part of this whole job, fishing this back through. Not gonna lie, they're a lot easier to take out when they're busted and in multiple pieces. Also, I'm sure you were aware of this, but there is a right and a left linkage. Not the 10mm.
No, not the buttons! Not my gumdrop button!
Got it. That went pretty easy. There is a slight amount of adjustment. See that right there where that slides back and forth? And that's how you adjust the angle that your wiper sits at. So if you were a perfectionist and you wanted to get your wipers sitting perfectly level or perfectly even with one another, that's where you make the adjustment. Your worthless information of the day. Let's give them a test, see if they work before we put the cowl back together. Probably don't want to run your wipers dry over your windshield. Good enough for the girls we go with. Wonder if I got some new wiper blades. Probably not. It's a little breezy out here. Hopefully the hot water warms me up for a second, and then the wind will cool me down. Right, Duff? Unless you want to do this pressure washing. No thumbs required. Dang, check the outside of this thing out. She's pretty good for not even scrubbing. I want to take this decal off the tailgate. I don't know what it was, but it's just a sticker. I would like to get rid of these emblems. Duff would like to get rid of those fleas, but we're not gonna rip into that right now. And then these body moldings are kind of flaking. I'd like to get rid of those. This thing's pretty good. There's a couple little dents. There's that one. There's a scratch there. There's that one on the bedside I showed earlier. Little guy in the cab. A little chip in the paint on the door. That's one thing about washing it. You find a lot of these. People have tapped on the hoods too many times. Some headlights would help out. Put some new lenses in there. But anyway, I got these seats out of that rolled over 95 that we took all the parts and put in the 90. So let's throw those in here because they're a lot better shape than this guy. I love when you can see the metal on the seat. Plus these are the cheap, not so cool ones. Doesn't have the armrest. This one's got the armrest. They had a couple different ones that flipped open like this one should, and ones that didn't. This thing's got the lumbar support, I think. Oh yeah, there it is. There's the connector. We're not going to wire that in, but it's in way better shape, as you can see. So since we got the outside cleaned up, let's clean up the inside. We'll take the seats out, wipe the floors down, vacuum it out, throw these in there, and then we'll worry about cleaning the rest. It does have a tan door handle insert that should be replaced, and this is just super grubby, but hopefully that cleans up. You itching son of a gun. How did you get dirt right in between your eyeballs? Can I wipe it off? You're such a goof. Such a goofy dog. All right, let's pull a seat out. Oh yeah, he left the scratches. Rub my neck, he says. Oh yeah, that's good. I gotta get back to work. I know. All right. Did we remember everything? Is there seatbelt wires or something I forgot? Probably. Yep, seatbelt wires get you every time. Oh, the old Screwed by Mortske Repair screwdriver works real good to get these unhooked. Get yours at mortske.com. One more front seat to go, and then we got the back seat. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna swap the back seat out so they match, even though nobody's ever gonna ride back there. Unless, for some reason, I have to pick up Pookie's kids from school or something. Or Duff gets a girlfriend. I don't know. Extended cabs are worthless. They just collect crap back there. All right, I'm gonna pull another seat out. Two more, actually. Look at the crap in here. Speaking of Pookie's kids, Duff, you want some sidewalk chalk? It's your shade of lipstick. Penny. That's about it. Would have been really cool if we'd have found something valuable, but just a bunch of trash. Road map from 2002, 2003. Those were the days before iPhones. Somebody went to Max in Jamestown. Got some grade 8 bolts. A whole 70 cents worth. 75 with tax. Paid cash though. I have no idea what that is. Oh wait, it says on it. California Innovations. SmartFlex divider tray system. Wow, excellent work, California Innovations. Check this out though. Somebody knew that this heater core was leaking, so they wedged it up there to soap it up. Soap it up, sop it up. Thank you for your business. Snap-on, Ben something, and Robbie DeWitt. We're gonna wash this up real good. We'll throw this in the giveaway pile with the license plate for somebody who makes an order. Tell you what, I'm even gonna autograph that map since I graduated in 03. We'll throw that in there as well. It's an official highway map with John and Mikey Hoven on the back. North Dakota's First Lady and Governor. Well, I think that's a whole lot better. Got the debris out of there. What do you think? You disappointed that rubber floor mats don't take in the smells that carpet do? I think we'll get a scrub brush and some soapy water, see if we can't clean her up a bit. Then we'll be ready to throw some seats back in her, huh, pal? Yeah. I'll throw the seats in if you scrub. I hate cleaning. All right, I'll do it. No thumbs. Got it. You're a good boy. Who's a good boy? Oh man, I forgot to scrub the door panel, but look at them floors. They're like new. That's why I like vinyl floor mats. You can rinse them out, wipe them down, look like brand new again. Now let's stab some seats and hope it looks just as good when we get done. Definitely should have wiped that dash down and door panels. Missed opportunity, Duff. You gonna show them your masterpiece? Check this out. I even scrubbed in that door panel a little bit, and it is a lot better. That's a baseball cap sticker there. Still got to do the dash. Check them seats out. Way better. These are like probably the most comfortable seats that GM ever made, in my humble opinion. The what, 96 to 2000 Suburban seats and 96 to 98 pickup seats. They wear almost as good as the what, 92 to 94s, but these are much more comfortable, real plush. The pinnacle of OBS seats. OBS had real good seats. You know what they don't have? Good door panels. What a piece of crap. Such a terrible design. The reason I say that is every 88 to 98 door panel you find is just flopping in the wind. And usually it's because they made the doors heavier because they had power windows and mirrors and all that stuff. And it'd wear out the pins and nobody ever replaced the pins, so then the door would sag. And the door panel would catch. Here's our 95 rollover. There ain't much left. I was gonna steal the mirror out of it. Right now, Mojo's stealing the guts out of it. So there's a panel right here, and it holds your window regulator and your door handle, all that kind of in one shot. But you can see they like to crack out right about there. They do have a crash bar built into them. I was almost certain of this before, but glass is different. The track is different on a manual window versus a power window. So we're taking everything out of that 95 because these door panels ram into the dash, and I can't find crank doors like that, and that's why I bought that pickup, but it's too good to kill. So anyway, we're gonna take that door panel with all those goodies and we're gonna graft it to this thing. It is a little bit different right in here where the door handle is. Have you chosen to make this your new home? But anyway, we might have to cut out, make something work there. But yeah, all these doors crack out. This one's an exception because she's been whaled shut many a times. But anyway, glass is different. The panels are slightly different. I'll let you know how that goes. But if we get these door panels on, this interior is going to be about wrapped up. These are my favorite seats, aren't they, Duff? Mainly because they're cleaner looking and lower profile and all that. But if we ever get this pickup updated interior door panels and stuff, that seat's gonna bother me. But I do have a bench with a fold down armrest we can put in there. And this thing's coming along, ain't it? Oh yeah, I want to steal the window out of that extended cab and put in here because this thing leaks. Weird. Who would have thought? Junk sliding rear windows. All right, we're shutting her down for the night, Duff. Let's go inside. All right, we got the old GMC pretty much road ready. I got to go run a couple errands anyway, so we'll take these seats, throw them in the seat pile. Go see how this thing does. It sucks because it's cold out this time of year. We can't leave it outside because it's got water in it. And we don't have a heater. So, yeah, I got a radiator on order, heater core, a bunch of parts that I've already forgotten what we ordered, stuff that we found. We're gonna put a new belt on it and hoses and all that good stuff as well. And then oil pressure switch, all that good stuff. So let's take it for a rip, see how she drives. You want to go for a ride? Load up. Let's do this. Better take my fancy Milwaukee light off the bed first. Let's see if she starts. That'd be a good start, huh, Duff? It's making a strange noise from the HVAC, like a actuator is stuck. But guess what? We get to rip all that out of here to put a heater core in. Lights right off. This thing's so good. Also, stopped at the grocery store in the DG yesterday trying to find some powdered Cascade to put in the cooling system to try to flush that out, get the oil out of there from the ATF. No luck. Everything's pods these days, or gel, so had to order some from Amazonia, so hopefully that shows up and we can flush the cooling system before we put a new radiator in it and heater core. I just cleaned that seat back there. Silly dog. Oh, seats are so much better when they're not blown out. How do I smell? Like Old Spice? I tell you what you smell like. Old wet dog. I'm not super familiar with the roll-up window, low model, base model trucks, but they got this armrest that's also your door pull. And they leave a lot to be desired. It's pretty loose on there. The door pins seem pretty tight on this pickup, so whole inside of the pickup looks purple because of that nasty tint. I did call Zachy Boy, our tint guy, and he's hoping that he can get us in. We get this done because it's terrible, and the whistle pig because that one's not so terrible, but it's a little on the dark side for the legality reasons. What do we say, 156 on it? Looks like they got an O'Reilly oil change sticker. Does O'Reilly give those out? Anyway, at 148,000. But I'm sure for the last 8,000 they were just dumping oil in because nobody wanted to fix power steering, kidding, oil pressure sensor. Mr. Puddin'. All right, sounds good. I gotta get back to work here. We'll talk to you later. Holy buckets. 46 minutes. It's an eighth of the work day that Puddin' just burned up there. And yeah, we got 42 miles on this thing. I got some wind noise, but I don't think it's coming from the door. Oh, maybe it is that seal right there, but I can squeeze on the door and it doesn't seem to get quieter, so I'm wondering if it's coming around the windshield. This thing needs a windshield anyway. A little bit of road noise. I did stop and get out a couple times running errands, and I put a little power steering fluid in. It's making some noise in the serpentine setup scenario somewhere, so I doubt it's the new water pump. Could be the idler slash tensioner, or there's an idler and there's a tensioner and an alternator. Alternator's charging just over 14 volts. They look newer, so I don't know if that means anything, but little noise under there. Cruise works great. I got no temp gauge and no oil pressure gauge, which is to be expected on the oil pressure. So I did check the connections on both the temp senders. There's one for the ECU and one for the gauge, and both of them looked fine. So maybe we'll get one of those ordered, and when we drain all this nasty oily coolant out, we'll stick a new sensor in there. But yeah, she cruises pretty good. It's so windy today that it's hard to tell if it needs an alignment. And obviously after we slam it on the ground, it's gonna need an alignment, but these seats are top-notch plush. The wipers are working, the radio works. There's something going on in the heater box like I talked about earlier, so we'll check out all those servos when we put a heater core in there and maybe address that. But other than that, I would like to put the leather wrap, the nicer steering wheel on it. This one's got just the regular foam, and it's not in terrible shape, but it just doesn't feel as good as the old leather wrap that would tie the whole interior together. Other than that, cup holder isn't busted. Got my coffee in it. Keeps her nice and hot. I don't know, maybe put a fancier radio in it. The upgraded radio or an aftermarket one? I don't know. This thing is, it's good. Don't you think, Duff? You got your own camera over there. I don't know why you gotta be on mine. Yeah, transmission seems to shift fine, steering seems tight. No noises coming from the suspension. Brakes seem good. Yeah, she's a solid unit. Duff, we got some visitors today. Got the old boys from Tint Conditions here. They're gonna tint the windows on our extended cab, and they're gonna go all OBS today. They're gonna tint the windows on the regular cab 4-wheel drive, and they're also gonna tint the windows on the rollback. If you remember, we took out the sliding glass and glued a one piece into this. We did the same on the rollback. The rollback's already tinted, so they're gonna tint this one. I want them to tint the whistle pig, but I don't think they're gonna get to it. Just not enough time in the day. And the square bodies take a little bit more time with the wing window, and then plus they gotta take the old tint off, put the new tint on. Where like this thing, they just gotta clean them up and go. Tint Conditions, if you're in the southeast North Dakota area, they're willing to travel, especially if you got a bunch of stuff. Otherwise, you can get a hold of them, take it right to their place. They'll do it on the spot. Good guys, do a real great job. Let's go check it out. You guys ain't done yet? Hey, this is a family show.
Sorry, buddy.
Cripes. Your kids are watching. De-purpleizing my tint. Oh, never mind. It's still purple. Why don't you use the big scraper?
It's hard to hang on to with this window.
It's because you got them little baby hands. I'd screw it all up. Can I just step on those shoes? Like just a little.
I wore the wrong shoes.
They still got the tag on them.
I could.
Jeez. This is why you pay the professionals, because that looks like fun. Hey, that looks like my hammer and screwdriver and punch and.
Weird, it might be.
No, we got the exact same ones. We do now. Lemoore implement. That's a collector's edition right there.
I have one just like it. Maury gave me his, so.
Is his like brand new?
Yeah, mine's not.
Oh, geez, look at that. What, is everybody got freaking dude shoes around here?
Oh, yeah.
Good gravy. I'm gonna buy stocks in those instead of Crocs now. I guess my steel toe Reeboks aren't gonna cut it. Dang, check this tin out. Mint conditioned. Tint Conditions did an amazing job. Those guys always knock it out. Had a little struggle. We took these quarter windows off, the extended cab windows off, and they couldn't get the screws out of this one, so I used the old air hammer adapter tool. They thought that was pretty neat. They also thought it was pretty scary that I was hammering on glass, but joke's on them, because we got that rolled over 95. We could steal glass out of it if I'd have broke it. But anyway, we got it out of there, so it makes for a cleaner install if they got all that stuff out of the way. Yeah, she's looking pretty good. That back window was so purple and terrible, and it would come through the cab and be purple, and it was not good. Then check out the old regular cab. Got the windows tinted on that. We got that one-piece rear window installed. Yeah, not professionally. We did it ourselves. She looks pretty good. Needs a cleaning. Oh, they didn't tint that one. Actually, on this one, oh yeah, they just tinted the front windows. The rollback, they tinted just that side, because this side was already tinted. You'll notice they're not very dark. North Dakota, you can't have anything on the windshield below that little line up there, which is pretty high, and I'm not really into that stuff, but I think it's 50% on the front windows, and then 20% on the back. So 50 on the front, 20 on the back. So they don't think we get enough sun to be able to put 5% or 20% all the way around. But she looks a lot better, and we're legal, because we like being legal. So Chin and I ran this thing about 30 miles to lunch yesterday. Round trip, everything was working good. We gotta get heat in this thing, but we gotta get the cooling system cleaned out. So we're gonna dump some Cascade in the radiator, put a few miles on this, drain it, put a few miles, drain it. I might have to pull the thermostat so that this stuff can really circulate through there. I got the radiator and the heater core and all that good stuff on order, some new hoses and whatnot. And also, I got a flip kit for the rear, and drop spindles and springs for the front, and some Riddler 650 20-inch 8.5s and 10s, and some tires, And this thing's gonna be on the ground. She's gonna be real good. But I gotta go run some errands. So I'm gonna run a heat cycle through this thing and we'll hopefully clean out the mess that's in the cooling system. Good news is it's between our nice new radiator that we're not gonna run and our 4.3 that we don't know. Also, it doesn't look like it's leaking anymore, so maybe that leak healed itself. That'd be great. So Duff and I are gonna go for a test ride and we'll see you back in a bit. Okay, maybe I lied. We got a little chirp going on down here. So I'm gonna get the old stethoscope out and see what's going on. See if it's alternator or idler, tensioner. Power steering looked like it was full. Shouldn't be our new water pump. Shouldn't be the crank pulley. Shouldn't be the AC. We gotta figure it out though, because it's annoying. It was so quiet when we started it. It's probably best just to replace the tensioner and the idler and the belt, all that stuff in one shot. Stuff's got 160,000 miles almost on it. I'm guessing it's never been serviced. So anyway, let's go run some errands. Do a little dishwashing inside the engine. That stuff says, what does it say? No food buildup. So we're gonna have almost no food buildup inside our cooling system. Cascade. It's tough to get in the powder form. I had to get it off the Amazon. Nobody local had it. Some leftover Hoover sneef up here from that escapade. Our squeak is significantly better though. A stick of deodorant works really well to run over those belts. I do that on my Dodge all the time because I can't figure out what's causing the noise on that one. All right, made her back. Nice little 25 or so mile round trip. This thing, we got over 100 miles on it just messing around. It did kick out the cruise control on the way there, and on the way back, I lost everything. So I thought to myself, why would I lose power to everything? Sure enough, battery terminal came loose. Good thing I got my Knipex in my pocket, tightened that up. Everything worked great. Oh, it had a whistle. I should say some wind noise coming through over here. All the seals look good. Chin said, I wonder if those rollers ain't bad. So you could see where the window was down before. Popped that sucker up and wind noise went away. So I'm guessing one of the rollers that holds the window up went bad. So we'll put one of those in there and that should fix it. But for now, just don't roll the window down. So I'm gonna drain the coolant. We'll see how it comes out. We'll fill up with Cascade and water one more time, run her again, till it all comes out nice and clean. Because cleanliness is next to godliness. Isn't that what they say? Something like that. She's a little warm and she's a little oily. Smells like dishes though. Sprinkle a little Cascade Complete down there. The #1 brand. I don't know. How much is up to you? I wouldn't say a little is good, a lot is better, but you know, a couple serving sizes. Big spoons, big spoon helpings. Dashes, slugs, glugs. And we top her off with the finest tap water the Southeast Water Users has to offer. All right, we got our cooling system topped off. So this thing's got issues with the temperature gauge. It stays at 100, and I know it's not running that cool. So there's 2 temperature sensors on these things. Yeah, good work, GM. One's for the ECU and one's for the gauge. One is in the intake by the thermostat housing. It's got 2 wires, that's for the ECU, and one is in the head, which is a 1 wire, and that's for the gauge. So what I did was I took a jumper wire and hooked her up to ground in a clip, a paper clip. So at the key on, we'll be testing our wiring and our cluster, and if it pegs all the way over to nuclear, that means everything there is good. And then it's our sender. If it doesn't work, then we got an issue with the gauge or the wiring going to the gauge. But check that out, she's pegged way past 260 over to nuclear. Now I'll disconnect the ground and you can see what happens. And you can see she came back down to 100. So that tells us we got a bad sending unit. So we'll get one of those on order because I don't have a lot of Vortex stuff on hand. I do have one of the 2-prong units for the ECU, of course, but not any of the single pins. Good news is we're gonna be draining the coolant many times. So one of those times we're draining it, we'll spin that new sender in when it shows up. Your tech tip of the day, how to test your gauges and your wiring and your sending unit. All right, well, we're working on OBS's here. Brought the 92 in here. This thing wouldn't start when I went to the airport to fly down to Oklahoma to get arrested in South Dakota. But I did get it to start, drove it to the airport. Chin got it to start, and then he had to use the booster on it. Anyway, long story short, I think the fuel pump's out. So we got a fresh battery in it. Let's see if this thing will start. We'll cycle the key a few times here, but I can't hear the pump running. All right, we got her up in the air. Before you ask, yes, it's got a full tank of gas. Yes, we checked the relay and the fuse. Everything's got power, so it's pointing towards the fuel pump. That's the most common thing. We could have a bad connection or something else, but let's get her dropped down and replace it, and hopefully that fixes it. These tanks are pretty easy to drop. You got 4 bolts right here and 1 bolt on that strap above the drive shaft. Then we just got to let her down gently and unhook the wires and the fuel hoses and swap in the new one. Ooh, check this out. You remember this came from a trailer hood in Oklahoma. First time I ever went down there and met Bud. Couldn't come back empty, so I loaded this thing on the trailer. But check out the Oklahoma trailer hood going on here. I thought it was interesting that there was all this dirt up here. And then I started chipping away at it. And I'm pretty sure that's... I was thinking it was expanding foam, but now it looks like it's some type of wax sealer, silicone, I don't know, beeswax maybe. Anyway, the blowgun isn't blowing it out of there, so we're gonna use our Screwed for the Holidays Mortske repair screwdriver. Get yours at mortske.com and get this crap out of there the best we can, and hopefully this thing doesn't leak again. Yeah, I don't know. It's like they put that stuff on there around the seal to seal it up. And then it just trickled its way down over here. Because, yeah, it's not Oklahoma dirt or North Dakota dirt. Anyway, just wanted to show you what's going on here. I'm going to be scraping away for a while. These aren't scrapers, but they identify as scrapers when they need to be. Definitely should have ordered a new sock. Don't tell Rock Auto because it probably voids my warranty. So this is our pump, this is our sender. Our sender was working. You can buy this whole assembly, a pump and sender in one, but we're just gonna put a pump in it because the sender was working, and parts quality these days is horrendous. So we're gonna avoid putting parts on there. It says AC on it, so it must be an old Delco. Maybe it's the original, who knows? Ooh, that sock is terrible. Maybe we can find one. Don't have a lot of this newfangled electronic ignition stuff around though. Use our fancy Mortske screwdriver to get these fancy plastic hose clamps off. Also use it to take our electrical connector out. This is the tool you need if you're doing a fuel pump swap on something with a electric pump in the tank. Let's go get our new one. Let's not fill our Milwaukee impact up with gasoline though. Those are some instructions. The main thing you're concerned about here is the electrical connection is the same and the hookup's the same for the pressure, and then where your sock hooks up is the same. Look at that, it comes with an adapter just in case your connector is not the same. Also comes with a new chunk of hose and a plethora of options for seals. And clamps and butt connectors to make your electrical connections. What a deal. And 2 different style rubber isolators for mounting it. What a deal. In case you're wondering, this replacement is a Delphi, part number FE0115-11B1. Protect the pump, clean the tank before replacing the fuel pump. Not happening. This bad boy already got the updated connector. Oh yeah. Don't forget to get the latest and greatest screwed for the holidays Mortske repair magnetic screwdriver at mortske.com. The perfect stocking stuffer. And maybe if you buy one, you'll never have to install an electric fuel pump in the tank ever again. In that case, that would be a solid investment. All right, now I just need to find a new sock. Speaking of the holidays, can't wait to get some new socks. Let's hook the battery up, cycle the key a few times, see if she lights off. Let's give her a whirl and see what happens. I think I can hear the pump running. Slingshot engage.
Slingshot engaged.
Oh yeah. Fixed it. Pretty common on these things, especially when they've been sitting a while. And this thing sat for quite a while. Lucky we got, what, 2-3 years of running out of it. I'm gonna tighten the fill and the vent hose up and the brackets holding it and everything. And this thing will be ready to send out the door and we'll get back to working on the old extended cab. All right, we got the dash all back together in this thing. We got her on the lift. You know what that means. That means in order for it to come down, it's gotta go up. Let me show you what we got going on here for this thing. We're treating this thing extra special. We're not just cutting coils on this one. We're putting new coils in the front and we're going with drop spindles. So I went on eBay and I bought the cheapest of everything I could. Running total, about 500 bucks we got here, give or take. We got Beltec drop shackles for the rear. We also got one of eBay's finest flip kits for the rear as well, with new hardware, new U-bolts, new clamps, new saddles, new everything. We got a shock relocation kit, the finest that China has to offer, so we can use our stock rear shocks. We got a C-notch for the rear, just in case. I feel like we're gonna need it. We haven't had very good luck with the OBS's not utilizing these things. Got some $150 Chinese drop spindles for the front. Threads got a little bunged up in the shipping, so hopefully those are fine. We got Beltrek Nitro Drop 2, part number 8000 shocks for the front. We got new wheel seals for the front and a 355 universal joint for the rear. We got new brake hoses all the way around, and we got some 2-inch drop springs. These look like they're a little bit too long, so we might have to cut them down. So let's get to ripping this thing apart so that we can put all that stuff in there. We got some extra special help in the shop today. We're hanging lights. Wow, look at that, how glorious. How fast can you run in those shoes? 11. 11. Dang. Now we're gonna have to wire it up for sure. Yeah, take your shirt off. Should be pretty good. What, it's got a switch? Now you need to hook up like a rod and a lever, so you just turn it on and off. Hey, you're on camera. Try to, happy Monday. Happy pre-Cyber Monday. I like how he does 7 windows and you do 2. It's because I'm the boss.
Enjoy being the owner of the business.
Wow. Really doing good. Does his best work in the back seat. Hey, what happens when you drop these Casey's crunchy crazes inside your Coca-Cola?
Ooh, haven't tried that.
It does it in my belly on its own.
Yep.
You know, Whistle Pig's getting some new tires and some tint today as well. Did you guys already tint this? No, that's not even terrible enough for you guys.
No, not yet.
You gonna make some noise? Chin's making a bracket for said sign.
Plan to make some.
And Mojo's gonna pack the wheel bearings and turn our rotors. And the brake pads are shot, so I should have ordered those, but I didn't. All kinds of stuff happened in the shop today. All right, let's get this spindle off here. I'm gonna pull the shock out and then the spring can come out and then we can take the spindle out and we should be able to put it all back together. We're definitely not cleaning or painting anything. your good supervisor. How's she look? Pretty dang good. It's been a long time coming. So the story on this sign is one of my buddies, he's got a shop, and when he opened it, he was gonna put this sign up and have a new plastic made. His shop isn't, he got this from his uncle who got it on an auction. And long story short, he's had his business for like 10 years and he's like, hey, I'm not gonna do anything to this. You want it? And I was like, absolutely. So we cleaned it up, light works in it. I had to flip it upside down and make a bracket and so on and so forth. It used to sit on a post. So now we got her hanging from the ceiling. Shin made the bracket, DDP cleaned it up and wired up the plug-in. So we're gonna do a little bit better plumbing. We're gonna run some conduit so that it's not just wired in with Romex, but we do have a switch on it. But anyway, we had to take these lights down over the bench. They're held by rope, which I'm fine with. My cousin is an electrician. It always bothered him, so we'll have to hang them from chains or something. But anyway, the lights were always right here, and the bench is right here, so the lights were shining at your back, so you're always working in the dark. So I think we're gonna move the lights over the bench, or maybe put some different ones, because where they used to hook is now where that sweet new light is. So yeah, glad we got that out of the way. Oh yeah, and the dudes from Tint Conditions helped out, so that was nice. We got, what, 50%? That's what's legal in North Dakota. All the way around in this thing now. The back window was like doubled up something. It was thick. Get your free Mortske decals at mortske.com. But yeah, looks good. We got to put the handles on for the wing windows yet. Take that off for them so they can tint it. Also put new tires in the front of it. Busted one of the center caps, so new ones are coming for that. And then maybe someday this thing will be on the channel, but this thing had just clear windows and it looked silly. So 50 and 5%? 5% rear Duff? Yeah, looks good. I hate sliding rear windows, but this one works. So yeah, we're working on the spindles of this thing, and the bearings would not go on. Freaking, this is what happens when you get the cheap spindles. So we sanded and sanded, and finally we got the bearings to go on. The pads are shot, so hopefully we can get some pads to put in there tomorrow. Mojo cleaned up the rotors. They cleaned up pretty good. The one was pretty chewed up on the passenger side, but the nice part about having a brake lathe, we can true them up. So anyway, I got this side pretty much done. I got a new brake hose. I'm gonna wait to put that on until the pads show up tomorrow. And I'm gonna finish wrapping up the other side. I took a break to help those boys out and supervise and all that good stuff, but glad that thing's done. Otherwise it was gonna sit outside and get busted this winter or ran into or who knows what. But cool sign. Right, Duff? It's even cooler when the light works. All right, I'm gonna finish putting this other side together now. Actually, I gotta finish taking it apart. Then we'll go to the rear. Let me show you what we got going on here, how we're lowering this thing in the front. So on the left is our stock spindle. The right is our aftermarket spindle. You can see that's the center of your spindle right there. And right there, see how it's moved up 2.5 inches to right there? That's the difference between a standard spindle and a drop spindle. The more you know. Got the same thing going on the springs. We got about 1 coil less on our new spring than the old spring, and it should be a 2-inch drop, but I don't know if I believe that. Good news is we're real good at cutting coils around here, so we might just have to do that just to get her as low as we need to go. You ready to pull the rear end apart? Just chomping at the bit today, huh? All right, let's do it. Let's do it. So in the rear, the way we're gonna lower this thing is we're gonna flip it. So we're gonna take the rear end and go from the bottom of the leaf springs to the top of the leaf springs. So we'll get what? Half, we'll get the entire thickness of the tube, plus the thickness of the leaf springs, plus the height of our mounts, or saddle, what have you. So usually it's about 7 inches in the back here you get out of that. We also got drop shackles. So we're gonna get real low, and then in order to get that low, the rear end's probably gonna get into the frame, so we're gonna put a C-notch back here as well. I've already marked the center line of our axle, which conveniently lines up with the center line of our bump stop. We're also gonna reconfigure the geometry of our rear shocks as well. Right now our shocks are about an angle like this, and as we flip the rear end, they're gonna be at an angle like this, and they're not gonna be working to their optimal potential at an angle like that. So we put extensions, so it puts them back in the correct position via the shock extension kit. We've ran into a small dilemma. This hitch. Can't quite get that shackle bolt out because it hits the hitch. So we either got to cut the bolt off, drill a hole in our hitch, or remove the hitch. If we cut the bolt off, then we could put a bolt in the opposite direction, but it's a odd size, long metric bolt. And I feel like if I want to take one out of another pickup, it wouldn't come out as easy. These all came out really, really well. Taking that hitch off doesn't sound like fun. I'm sure something will snap off. Not good. Drilling a hole in it, you can't really drill it. You gotta torch it. And that seems like the Oklahoma or DD Speed Shop thing to do. So I really don't want to do that either. Do a little ponder and see what we figure out. I really hate to take this hitch off because it might not go back on just because it's big and bulky and in the way. And how much towing are we gonna do around here with our lowered half-ton two-wheel drive when we got a yard full of 3/4 ton and 1 ton diesels and big blocks? And it's too early for a sandwich to ponder on it, so we'll see. I think it's a C-channel frame. I thought it was a box frame, but and then it's got these nut insert things, but I think it's a channel. So maybe if we drop the spare tire down, we can get at the backside and drop that hitch out of there. Won't be too bad. Maybe if the spare tire will come down. So here you can see our old shackles and our new shackles, and you can see how much longer they are. That longer shackle is gonna drop the rear end. And we're also gonna get new bushings instead of these rotten old ones. And look at them fancy speed holes. Another good reason to lower these things is the U-bolts. See how rotten these things are? About ready to break off. They're like toothpicks. And the reason they're like that is because the bracket's like a big funnel that just dirt and condensation and everything sits in there and just rots them out. New bolts, new clamps, gonna fix all that. Hitch, delete, complete. Now we're ready to start cutting a hole for some C-notches. We gotta take the bump stop off on this side. And on the driver's side, we gotta be a little bit more careful. We got the bump stop, of course, but then we got our brake line and our taillight wiring to deal with. So you're gonna make sure you get that out of the way. And we also got this bracket for the brake hose that we need to address as well. So let's remove the bump stops and the brake bracket, and then we'll just pull the wiring and the brake line out of the way, and we're ready to do some cutting. Getting ready to fit up these C-notches, and ran into our first dilemma. So this is a full C-channel. It should go over the top and the bottom of the frame rail, but we can't go over the top because our bed cross member's in the way. So we either got to lift the bed up or cut out the cross member, neither of which I'm gonna do. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna cut the top lip off of this, or at least clearance it for the cross member. Also, the welds on this thing are pretty subpar, so I might do a little welding on the backside. It'll be fine either way, but can't hurt. And then we're gonna take a piece of cardboard, lay it up against this notch, and get a template, line up our center line, put that hole for the bump stop, and then we're gonna transfer that to here, trace it all out, and then we'll cut that out. That way you get a nice fancy notch, unlike whoever did the notch in the old whistle pig and just absolutely butchered it, and then didn't leave enough room to bolt it in. They had to weld it in. Did they even try to trim it out the way that they should? They just cut a giant gaping hole and pushed it in there. That's probably why they couldn't put bolts in it, because the way they cut the frame out, the bolts would miss the frame. Don't be an idiot. So I would not recommend this notch, because because we're gonna have to modify it. There's a lot better notches. Find a notch that's thicker and then just bolts to the side, not over the top. That's what we got on the 92. That's a DJM notch on that, and it's like 3/8 of an inch thick. It's good stuff. The welds are good too. The more you know. All right, let me show you how I do this. So we got this top lip off because it's way too tall and it was fitting sloppy, and that top lip was gonna get in the way of our bed cross member. So took our Milwaukee circular saw, cut that right off. And then I took and transferred that shape to our cardboard aided drafting here. A little CAD action going on here at Mortske Repair. Got our center line marked. Get yourself some fancy magnets. Line up our center line with the center line of this bed cross member. That's gonna be the center line of our axle. You can see this thing's all the way tight up against that cross member, and it still hangs way below, so it's not gonna work for us. So we're gonna still have to trim that piece off for the cross member at least, but I'd like to trim it down far enough so that if we really needed to, we could lay a bead across the top. But anyway, I'm gonna trim this down, and then we'll get it into place where it needs to be. We'll mark it with our mark saw marker, maybe even take and clean this up a little bit, and then we'll cut her out of there with the angle grinder. All right, one side down, one to go. I would not recommend this C-notch kit. Like I said before, I had to trim that edge off, and then a couple of the bolts were right on the top of the frame, so I had to re-drill those and move them down. There's a rivet on the bottom of the frame that got in the way, so I had to clearance it for that. And then there's a couple holes for the brake hose bracket that I had to drill, which wasn't a big deal, but all the modifications I had to do, plus I welded it on the inside. Would not recommend this eBay C-notch kit. Oh yeah, and I had to go get my own hardware because their hardware was way too long. So there's the holes for the bracket. There's the holes that were up by the top. There's the rivet we had to clearance for. But we got a nice tight fit all the way around on the inside. We're good to go. And we got 2 bolts in the bottom as well. Make sure you got a good bit and a good drill, because you're gonna need it. All right, now we just gotta do the same thing on the other side. There you go. Side number 2, the passenger side's done as well. This side's a lot easier because you don't have the brake hose and the wiring and the bracket for the brake line all over here. So, and plus we're all warmed up. We got all the bits out and the hardware and the sockets and the ratchets and the grinders and the markers and everything else. So there you go. I think we're ready to slide the diff into place. Then we'll lift our springs up in there. We'll hook up our shackles. Then we'll put our shock extensions on and hook up the brakes and the drive shaft, and we'll be slamming this thing on the ground in no time. Somebody's ready to go for an RIDE and a lowered pickup. What are we gonna throw in with the merchandise this week, Duff? Oh yeah, we got our pattern for how to ruin your pickup. Somebody who buys some stickers or a shirt or a beanie cap or a fender cover is gonna get that in there with a little surprise from me and Duff. So if you're lowering your OBS Chevy pickup, you can just have your stock boring 235 75 15 steel wheel with a center cap and a beauty ring. You got to have something super bad ASS. Like these bad boys right here, the Riddler 650. You know why I chose these? Because it's what the whistle pig's got, and that thing's pretty awesome when you're not getting arrested. This is our 20 by 8.5 in the front. And this is a 245 40 R20. I think it's a ZR20. It's Z-rated. It's rated for the speed, like the blower motor on my furnace. These bad boys are going to get the job done, and they're going to look way better than those. Those tires were getting kind of bad anyway. And these things are going to be real bad. Guess what we got going on the rear? Yeah, if you'd have guessed, a 20-inch 275 50 Riddler 650, you'd be right too, because you know when you're doing something like this, you got to have the rims that match. You know, you could go with 18s and 20s, but you can't have a torque thrust on the front and a Steely on the back or something silly like I would do on my Camaro. But yeah, these Riddler 650s, I really like them. Not a paid promotion. I don't know what kind of tires these are. I'm not even gonna look. They're on Amazon. They're the cheapest ones you can find, but 275 millimeters wide, 50 series on the back, a little bit more tire than we got on the Whistle Pig, but 10 wide on the rear, 8.5 on the front. I feel like this is gonna bite me in the future, but we'll address that later. All right, let's get these bad boys hooked on there. Look at how them bad boys sit on there. That is a lot of tire and a lot of rim. And depending on how low we go, but there might be some clearance issues there. Clarence.
2-4.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
But we'll worry about that in a little bit because we got bigger fish to fry. So it's pretty common when you flip the leaf springs on these things or flip the axle to move the rear end back. And these things got offset built into it, so I offset everything to the rear, and the drive shaft is still too short. So you'd see it's pretty close. It would almost go, but we got the slider all the way ahead, and we got the slip yoke slid all the way ahead. So that's the beauty of these two-piece drive shafts. That front drive shaft stays stationary, and so that distance between the crossbar and the transmission always stays the same. And then you got your slider back here, and as the rear end goes up and down, that's where it slides on that slip joint there. So it's not going to do us any good to shorten that front drive shaft, so we're going to have to shorten this one. So I've always kind of wanted to shorten one of these things in the pickup, and so we might actually just do that, something that you could pretty much do at home. Usually we do it in a lathe. I go and use my uncle's lathe. He's got a, I don't know, must have like a 7-foot bed on it. It's at least 6 foot, and that's how we true them up. But you should, in theory, be able to true them up using the rear end and the existing drive shaft or the transmission in the case of a one-piece. So I think we're going to try that. What's the worst thing that happens? We screw up a drive shaft, have to find another one? Like I said earlier, the C-notch kit is terrible. I'll show you more on that. I'll put a link down in the video description, but I would not recommend using this. It's totally usable, but I think there's better options out there. So the bump stop, I got them both on, went and snugged them up. Of course, they didn't come with any hardware, so I rounded up some hardware, and the washer pulled out of one of them. We got the other one in place. So, I mean, they're a good-looking bump stop. Not bad. No issues there. Well, then there's supposed to be a washer inside of there, the only metal piece in there, and it pulled right through. So now this is pretty much no good. So we'll have to get some bump stops out of our collection to throw in there. Just an absolute terrible C-notch kit. And that's what you get for buying offshore garbage. Got our shock relocation brackets in place. Really all it does is just utilizes this bolt going through there. Some of them, they have like a bolt going through the back so that they can't pivot. These do not. I suppose you could drill that hole out and put a bolt in, or drill a new hole and put a bolt, which would be ideal, but really there shouldn't be a lot of tension going the other way. And you can see how it changes that shock angle. If we wouldn't have put this in here, that shock would have bolted right here, so it would have been sitting pretty flat, and you don't want that. Got our shackles in place. Everything went pretty well there. Just dropped the hitch out of the way. I did put the bolts in the other way, so if somebody wants to put it back to stock, or you want to put a longer shackle in or whatever, which I don't think you could, because this is going to get really close to the bed floor, but those are in there. Those fit really well. These are by Beltec, part number 6400. Really nice piece. They look good. The paint's good. The bushings are the right size. Slid right in. We still got to put our hitch on, but I don't know if I'm going to run it right away, because I kind of like the clean look of not having it, but it would be nice to have a hitch on it, and then if it ever breaks down, we can just slide a receiver in it and push it around with the skid steer. So probably should put it back on there, and that way we can tow stuff if we ever are really in a pinch and need to tow with our lowered 4.3 half ton. We also got our new rear brake hose installed. We got new brake pads and new front brake hoses as well. It's super common on these pickups for this clamp here to rust and swell up and pinch the hose, so it was a good time to address that as well. One other thing you can do is you can put a lowering block in between this saddle and the leaf spring, and that'll move the rear end up, which will move your pickup down. One thing you got to watch out for is if these bolts stick too far below the rim, that's not good. Then if you ever get a flat tire and it air drops out of the tire, and then you dig these into the ground, and you're going to go for a ride. So definitely make sure your U-bolt hardware or any hardware does not hang below the outer diameter of your rim. Your safety tip of the day, because we don't want you dying, we want you watching. All right, we're back. It's the Monday after, it's Cyber Monday, Thanksgiving. I pretty much just slugged away on just piddly little things and ate leftovers for the last few days. But anyway, radiator's in, new belt is on. We put a thermostat in it. Radiator hoses, got her all topped off with Dexco, hooked up the heater hoses. Look at this, we got wheels on it. Everything was good until I got to the wheels. The wheels are good, the wheels are wrong. Well, let me show you. So these are 20 by 8.5 and 20 by 10 Riddler 650s, and apparently these don't fit on these pickups unless they sit nosebleed high, and we don't roll with that. Nosebleed high ain't happening here. The mud flaps gotta go because they're touching. There's no room under there. It ain't quite touching, but it is real close. So they don't make a 7 in these. I like this deep looking lip, but with that the wheel comes way out, so you got a huge offset. And on the back I actually took an 8.5 inch rim and put the 275 on there, and it still touches the sidewall just barely. But yeah, as it comes down more, it's gonna rub even worse, and as you hit bumps, it looks good, but can't have that. Mud flap isn't touching here though. That's good. Let me show you what the 10 inch looks like with the 275/50 on it. Yeah, it is stopped right there. Like, it won't go down any further. So we need different wheels and tires. Good news for the whistle pig though. This is what that thing allegedly has on it, according to the old ad from Hot Rod Dirty or whatever, whoever sold that thing a handful of years ago. It allegedly has 20 by 8.5s and 20 by 10s. I haven't had the back ones off, but I always thought a little bit more rubber looked good, so we'll probably throw these 20 by 10s on there, and the front rims are slightly bent. For sure they're bent. So we'll just basically throw all these on that pickup, and that pickup will be that much better when we give it away. So stay tuned for the information on that. I think I'm gonna go find some different wheels for this thing, and we're gonna take off those mud flaps because they're gonna be dragging, and they just kind of detract from it. We're gonna take the toolbox off. I might even take the bug deflector off the hood as well. We'll see. And I really would like to take all the body moldings and emblems and trim off. Get rid of that guy in the back of the cab. Get rid of all these down the body. I'm gonna get rid of these there. I'd really church this thing up a bit. But we'll see. She looks good, just ain't gonna cut it. There is a different brand of wheel. Was it US Mag wheels? That these are like a 4.5 inch offset, and those are 4 3/4, or vice versa. The other ones are the US Mags. They're a nicer looking wheel. Just, they're really close, but they're just a little bit nicer. And instead of 8.5, they're an 8, and then they got a 4.5 inch offset versus 4 3/4. So that should move them in a little bit. Narrower wheel, better offset. I don't know if that's what I'm gonna do. I got about $500 in these tires and $1,000 in these wheels. Over $1,000 in these wheels. So it really hurts, but at least we can put them on the whistle pig. So do your research first. I don't know why I thought. I've never had anything that 10s fit. So I would be surprised if there's not even 10s on the back of the whistle pig, but 8.5s won't even fit this thing. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe put some Chevy SS wheels on it. Kind of burned out on torque thrusts. Everything else in the yard's got torque thrusts on it. I do have some black torque thrusts, but wouldn't really do it. You can't have the Steelies on there. So comment down below what wheels you would like to see. Dwayne's, who say I ruined this thing by lowering it, you don't need to comment because your opinion is irrelevant. And then I did put the numbers together, and it's about $600 I got in this kit. It was $70 for that C-notch. I would recommend ponying up and spending like $100, $120, get a little bit better C-notch. I don't know how this thing's gonna sit when we get it on the ground. We might have to take the drop shackles out, so that'd save you about $70. Again, I'll put all the stuff in the video description down here. I'll put the YouTube links. New shocks on the front. Those were like $140. In the back, we just put the shock extensions and no new shocks, which I would recommend putting new shocks back there. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. Maybe you don't want to go this low. Maybe you just want to put drop springs and a drop shack on the back. You can save a lot. But anyway, I think the kits were like, depending on who you got them from, were like $800 to $1,000. So I saved $200 to $400. Was it as nice of a setup? Probably. The only thing I really had a problem with, we had to do a little bit of work on the spindles, sanding them down, and that C-notch is just horrendous. The hardware was too long, it was too big, the material's too thin, the holes are in the wrong spots, the bump stops didn't have hardware, the bump stops were dog crap. So other than that, the Beltec shocks, we've been running those, they're great. The Beltec shackles fit right in. I don't know if we're gonna need them. The drive shaft was tight to go in there, but that's what you get when you flip them. Wish that drive shaft was about a ½ inch shorter, but it's not worth pulling to shorten. So I think that's what I'm gonna do now, lift this thing up in the air, and we're gonna pull all that stuff off of it. Maybe put some blocks in between the leaf springs so we can roll it outside, get ourselves a good thumbnail pick. And then we'll have to find some different wheels. And yeah, obviously we're not going for a test drive with these wheels. So somebody is mad about that and just hanging out on their bed. All right, let's lift this thing up, get some mud flaps off. Oh, in the back, that's what I'd like to do at some point, get a tonneau cover. Get rid of the toolbox, put a tonneau cover over the back. That way you can keep your stuff out of the elements. And, you know, if you can have a toolbox underneath, or you just have stuff in the back that, you know, the honest people aren't going to steal. You know, there's bad people that are going to steal it even if you got it in a locked toolbox. But just kind of cleans them up. And then it keeps stuff out of the elements. And then, yeah, you don't see this ugly bed underneath. But we'll see. Cross that bridge when we get there. We got to get it so she rolls without rubbing first. Silly kid, Riddlers are meant for square bodies. Oh man, let's get over to the other side. This thing is, she's good. We ain't got much snow. Okay, we got multiple inches of snow. But that ain't nothing, is it, Duff? We're just about blading the snow with the whole front valance. She looks good, Duff. We gotta wash it again. Got dirty. I love that color for staying clean. And I really dig them wheels, but just driving it out here, I got them to touch a couple times. So that ain't gonna happen unless we jack it way up, and we ain't doing that. This thing looks so good if we spend a little bit more time, took them body moldings off and all the emblems. And a great way to do that is take some fishing string, twine, fishing. What do you catch fish with? Fishing line. Take some fishing line, and you just use it like a saw, get on the backside and just run her back and forth, and then you get one of them 3M rubber wheels, and then just take all the goo that's left off, and then get yourself some Goo Gone or what have you, and clean up what's left, and she's good to go. It looks really clean. Really, those things are there just kind of break it up and to prevent it from door dings. So if you're parking in the Walmart parking lot, probably not a good idea to get rid of those, but it looks cool. This thing is so good. We're gonna put some wheels on it and we'll run it, and if the 4.3 goes, the 4.3 goes. If it lives, great. And we probably could throw a set of head and intake gaskets in it, but it's like, at that point, you should probably go through the heads. How bad are the main bearings and the rod bearings and all that? And maybe you want to rebuild it, or maybe you just want to grab a different 4.3. Or I think I'm sold on the LSs after having a bunch of them. And this thing actually should tow pretty decent. It's still the same half-ton suspension. Everybody's gonna grab, lowered stuff rides terrible. No, it doesn't. We got the correct geometry in the front. We got the same spring rate in the front and the back, so we always had before. As long as you got enough travel so you're not whacking the bump stops, you're golden. And we got a bunch of 3/4 and 1 ton diesels in the yard for towing and hauling, so whatever, it doesn't matter. Go to a car show, everything's lowered because they're awesome and they look great, and it saves on your seat and everything else. There's a little bit of wear on the paint up here from the toolbox, so that might buff out a little bit. And then, like I said, if I got a tonneau cover, it'll hang over the sides ever so slightly. Nah, probably not. Probably won't cover that. And there's a hole for the antenna in the roof, and there's a couple dingers here and there. But anyway, I bought this thing for 500 bucks. I was hoping to just steal the door panels off and put it in the 90 to 95 conversion. We ended up converting that all to power windows. It was a terrible, miserable job. I would not recommend ever doing that, but this thing was too good to knock in the head, and we had all the stuff to do that, so we might as well just do that. So now we got 2 good pickups in the yard, good-ish. 2 better pickups than we had. It was supposed to have a bad motor. It still might, but I think if they would have taken care of it, put the water pump in the freaking thing and kept coolant in it and put actual coolant instead of water in it so everything didn't freeze, I think this thing would have been just fine. We put an oil pressure sender in it, that's working. Put a temp gauge in it, put a radiator, heater, core, hoses, water pump. We put a lot of stuff in this thing, and most of that stuff would work for other engines. Like, we'll take those radiator hoses and throw them on the shelf, we LS swap it and use them for something else. The oil pressure sender and the temp sender should be the same if we put a different engine in it. We're out of freeze plug. We're not going to get that back. It's the same as 350. We can steal that water pump back and use that on a Vortec 350. We can give it back to Chin. Anyway, yeah, threw some different seats in it. I would like the nicer leather wrapped steering wheel in there. Carpet would be nice, but I really don't mind the rubber floor mat. It's easier to clean up. Power windows would be nice. Then again, these work and they're there, and so they're gonna stay there. Duff wants to go for an RIDE, but with the 4x4 blocks in the back and the tires rubbing, ain't happening. And we're not gonna go out. They spread salt and plowed today, and we're not gonna go drive in the salt with our nice pickup. I know, sorry, you'll be fine. But yeah, anyway, you guys are fully aware that I love the OBSs. I wish I was the person who started this fad and got in early and got them all there cheap, but there's still some cheap ones out there. This thing was an absolute steal. 500 bucks on Facebook Marketplace for a handful of days. The guy had some crappy pictures, didn't have much information, and it's super, super solid. 156,000 miles, everything's nice and tight underneath. It ain't all rusty, it ain't all banged up. The interior was a little crusty, but we got that all cleaned up. Could use a little bit more cleaning. It looks pretty good, don't it, Duff? So there you have it. I think that's where we're gonna wrap it. Appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for more on this. Like I said, price and availability in the video description. We would sell this thing if you want, but you're really gambling on that engine. I don't know much about it. We'll keep driving it around, but the weather isn't very conducive to driving this thing because there's gonna be salt on the roads, and I don't want this thing to get rusty. So it'll probably just collect dust until we decide to start driving it and then determine if it needs an LS. But who knows, maybe this video will get a butt ton of views and we'll get all excited and just LS swap it, and everybody will be commenting, do the LS swap. And then there's the 11 guys that are like, LS swaps are dumb, because why would you like reliability and cheap horsepower and awesomeness at a discounted price? Old Dwayne. All right. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. This video is long and drug out, and we did a lot of work to this thing. This thing's a huge transformation. I'm really excited about this pickup. I wasn't off the bat because I'm not an extended cab guy, and Chin's like, ooh, I want an extended cab. That thing's gonna be good. And I'm like, they're dumb. And now I'm like, this thing's good. I do kind of wish it had the third door. I don't know why, for more wind noise and rattles, but anyway, it is what it is. All right, thank you very much for watching. Remember, it doesn't matter how you get it done, so long as you are having fun. And this pickup's a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It has been a lot of fun. We put the FU in fun around here. Go check out that Mortske merch. We got stocking caps and beanies and flannels because it's cold out. And we got pry bars and magnetic screwdrivers and fender covers and Duff bobbleheads, stocking stuffers, decals, banners, you name it, we got it. If we don't got it, you don't need it. Remember, it doesn't matter how you get done, as long as you're having fun. I already said that once, but on to the next one. Just watching the pigeons fly around over there. What a life. Eat crappy rotten corn and just fly around 25 yards at a time. If only Duff would go harass them. All right, I'm gonna go back inside where it's warm and put some stock wheels back on this thing so we can drive it around the yard and move it and get it out of the way. And put these wheels on the whistle pig. Upgrade! Stay tuned for when we give that thing away and the details. We're still working out the legal matters. Okay, bye.